So in today's lesson, this is part 2 of the auditioning process. So in today's we're going to be working with different characters and also experimenting more with relationships and exploring more with the characters that we have chosen. We started off with just going over a recap of what we did last lesson, and these are the questions that we answered. So the first question we had to answer was, in a pair, share your reflection of the audition. With my audition piece from Wednesday, I feel like I was very confident with it. I didn't rush, I took my time, I showed a clear justification of a contrast between two characters, and also I achieved my SMART target, which was to be confident and show a contrast of characters as well. So the next question was, how did you prepare? So the night before, and also when I got my script, I started reading the play, and I just kept reading it and reading it and reading it till I had a different interpretation of the play so many times, and then once I read it, I made a justification of which one I wanted to go with. I then looked over the characters and thought which one could I relate to the most, and then also one that I could push myself with too. So with it being my last year and my last performance, I thought I should push myself more. So it's like you go out with a bang. So I thought going for G would be a good idea because it is a different character than what I'm used to, and it is completely different and something that I've not experimented with before. I've not tried becoming a boy and messing around with things like that and using my body more in that way. So I just wanted to experiment more, and with Danny I feel like I can relate to it more, and just because I have a sister, and how would I react, and I feel like everyone else would feel, okay, if I was in Danny's shoes, I think I would react like that too. Another question was understanding of the character. So with Dean, I feel like he's trapped a lot. He doesn't understand, well, not understand, he's just confused, and he feels like he can't let go at times, but within this scene he feels like he can talk to Josh, he can let go, he can explain why he's transitioning and how it happened, and it just feels like it's getting a load off his chest. And I think at times we can all relate to that when we've had something on our chest and we want to talk to someone about something, and yet we don't really want to, but we do, and then it feels better. You feel better about yourself. With Danny, I think she's just upset and she's confused. Well, not confused, she's just a bit angry at times, but she doesn't mean to be, just because she just doesn't understand, and everything in the world's just changed completely, and I think everyone can relate to that too as well. So that's why she's being angry, and she doesn't mean to, she's just trying to understand, and because she's not understanding, it's just making her agitated and really confused, and she takes it out on Dean just because he's there, and that's the reason, because he's there, and it should be Izzy who's there. So the relationship that Danny and Izzy had is gone because Izzy's not there anymore. It's like she's disappeared. My strength from last week was my interpretation of two different characters, so making a clear contrast between Dean and Danny, because they are completely two different people. And my weakness was my mannerisms. I'm very girly in the way that I talk and the way that I use my body and my gestures as well. So when I'm being Dean, I need to think more about my mannerisms, and that's what I'm going to focus on today, is to think more about my voice. Start using it a little bit lower as well, and experimenting with how I would sit as a boy, and my gestures as well, and start thinking more like a boy. So today we had to do different scenes within different people. So I have some feedback from other people's scenes, and then I did a scene today with on here. Yes, So we started off with Frankie. First of all, we did our own audition piece and we had to show it to different people so then they have an understanding who we're going for and what we're bringing to our table. So we started off with Frankie, who was playing Laura. I feel within this character she needs to be a bit more girly. I can see Laura being one of those girls like in a film where she carries around all these fashion magazines and all these little gossip about other celebrities, and even though it could be completely false, they still believe it and they're like, it's like their Bible and they go off and it's very, very girly. I feel that that's the kind of character Laura is. I feel that she used her facial expressions very well. So you can see that bit of girliness coming in, and when she's a bit shocked and she's not quite sure about things. So it seems like she's a bit ditzy at times, and you can see that in her face. So that's very good. I just feel like she needs to slow down more at the pace. It was a bit too fast and she was rushing at times. So once it slowed down, I feel that would be like a really nice scene, and I think she did a really good job on playing Laura as well. Next was Elliot, who was playing Josh. He's a good imaginative world and he embodied the character as well. So it was really nice, and he showed a nice clear character. Next we had Andy, who was playing Kyle. I think overall this scene was very good. He used good reactive skills. He showed a clear imaginative world. You could tell where he was and who he was talking to, and you could see, like, even though no one's there, it was just him, you could see like a connection between him and the person that was supposed to be on stage. His facial expressions were very good, and so yeah, and the way that he used his body, the way that Andy performs, it's very naturalistic and very real, and watching him, it's really nice to see because it is real and it's truthful, and that's what we want to get across, because we are using Stanislavski techniques and this play is quite naturalistic, so we want to use Stanislavski techniques within rehearsals and within audition pieces to make that scene and the whole play naturalistic and show the truth on stage. Next we had Nathan, who was playing Josh. His imaginative world was very nice. I feel like he had a good understanding of the character as well, and he learnt his lines as well, so it was just really nice overall. The only thing that put us off at the end is when he finished with, yeah, I'm done. Just don't do that. Stay still, stay positive, and stay connected within the character, seeing you got that character, so then everyone knows that you finished. The next character we looked at was the mum, and this was being played by Lewis. I think the character, it needs working on more. With the interpretation, I don't think he's there. I feel like he's more like a drag queen. The way that he performs it, it's like he's playing like a man pretending to be a woman, when that's not the case. At that time he is a woman, and then within the scene you see him switch the roles around to what it's supposed to be. So within that scene, within the mum and dad, it's like they're trying to understand Dean by swapping the roles and trying to understand how they feel, because the mum and dad have two different understanding about Dean. So one of them's a bit confused, and they are a bit confused, but one of them blames themselves and the other don't, and they're trying to understand. So I don't think more camp, think more being mum. It's like a 40-year-old mum. How would your mum react? Just like with everyday things, just start looking at a normal, well, like a woman. Just think about more woman-like and how they would use their body and use their voice. They're very naturalistic. Think about that. Next we watched Beth being Amy. Beth does an amazing audition piece. The way that she uses her imaginative world is very nice, and she makes clear justification of where people are. I feel overall she's very funny playing Amy as well. You could see like comedic areas. The only thing that I think Beth needs to work on within this scene is that sometimes she has these wandering eyes. So once you see someone else on stage who's looking around all the time, you start looking all the time. So just pick a focus point, and I think it's just straight ahead, and then I'm looking straight ahead as well. I'm more engaged within the scene, and it was very, very nice as well. Next was Ashley. I think with this one, with my interpretation of Dean, Danny even, I feel like she's more feistier, and I get where Ashley's coming from, but I just feel like Danny's more feistier because she is more upset and she gets angry, and with Ashley she doesn't have any siblings as well, it is hard to get across. But I think overall she did a very good job of playing Danny. She had this imaginative world, and you could see that she was a bit upset and that she didn't want to tell Dean everything, and she was like trying to let go at times, and then she wouldn't, and she felt quite awkward being in Dean's room as well, so that was very nice. Next we had Claudia being Laura. The facial expressions were very nice. It was good use of imaginative world, and yeah, overall it was just very nice. It was nice to have like the contrast between Frankie being Laura and then Claudia being Laura. So it was a bit different. One of them was a bit girlier than the other, and the way that they used the body as well. So it's just nice to see the different contrast between two different, the same character. Then we had James Dean, who was played by Scott. I feel it was nice. I just feel like you need to think more about James Dean, embody James Dean. Like, James Dean is he's got like this swag to him, and he's very arrogant and cocky, and the way that he would stand, and I feel he was good at using his American accent as well, so that was nice. I just think that there needs to be more to that. Keep a focus point as well, so he was looking around a lot and his eyes was closed during the time he was like throughout his audition piece. Open the eyes, be more arrogant. I know that once you want to be arrogant, you want to like close your eyes a bit, but there's a difference of having your eyes slightly closed and then like fully closed. So yeah, to embody more James Dean and like this swaggish, arrogant kind of character. It was then me being Dean. Overall, my feedback was quite good. I just need to think more about being more manly, and my gestures as well. Everyone picked up on my gestures and the way that I use my arms and my hands. So I need to think more about not using them as girlish. After that, we then got into groups and started looking at different scenes within the play and working with different characters. So first off, we had Nathan and Elliot, who was playing Josh and Kyle, and I feel within the scene, because Kyle walks in with Josh wearing a dress, and it should be really awkward at first, and then Josh opens up saying like he's very confused about Dean, and he still loves her, and he doesn't know what he wants to do, and it's very awkward to watch, and I don't feel like it was that awkward, just because I think it's just the relationship. I think once we all get more into it, and then we all have our characters, we would have a general understanding of the relationships between different characters. So once we get through it all, we'll have a better relationship. So then the awkwardness would come within time. I think when Kyle is comforting Josh, you need to see that, like it just saying the book, like hug him. Make sure you're comforting. You two are best mates, so you would have once you comfort your mate, you use a lot of contact, and you make sure that they're okay and it's dead truthful. And watching that, it wasn't truthful. It was forced. The pace was a little bit off. It was a bit slow. But I think once lines are learned, then the pace will get a lot better. Next we had Andy and Beth, who was playing Dean and Josh. It was really good considering they've not worked with each other and lines weren't learned, but the relationship was really nice, and I think Andy and Beth work very nice together. They're both very naturalistic in the way that they work, and it was just nice. They had that imaginative world, and the reaction skills of just like bouncing off on it, like of each other, was very nice as well. It was very believable. It was very truthful as well. You felt like you could take sides as well. Sometimes you felt bad for Dean, and then you felt bad for Josh, and you just understood what they were going through within that scene. Next we had Ashley and Frankie, who was playing Laura and Amy. Projection overall needs to be a lot more. It was hard to hear. One of them being that the music was going off in the next room, but also if that's gonna, obviously it's not gonna happen within the performance, but you just need to be more aware where you are, so then we can hear you. But also projection is important anyway. Ashley, the way that she was reacting was very good as well. It was how a girl would react, so it was just nice to see that. It was very natural in the way that she did it. I think Frankie needs to think more girly and reaction skills, so it was like she was more thinking about the next line, whereas really listen to each other and then think of what you're going to say next when other people are talking. So then this is the pace is more natural and you understand it more. So at times it was like it was really, really slow, and it was like, okay. So the pace needs to get a bit more better, but that will come within time. Next was the mum and dad scene with Claudia and Lewis. I don't think at times the character was there. It was very them, or just by the way that they stood. Within the voice, sometimes it was there, but with Lewis, the character's still camp, and it's not how a mum would talk, and then sometimes you'd lose it and it would be Lewis. So I just feel like he needs to do more research on what the mum's going to be like. Reaction skills, there weren't a lot of reactions. I think this was just listening and also learning lines within time, but within doing the next couple of weeks and going through rehearsals and stuff like that, we'll have an understanding of the characters and the relationships, and then once we start rehearsing it properly, that the relationship will be there and the reactions will be too. So I feel that could process. Next is me and Scott doing James Dean and Dean, and within this scene it's about them two. Like, it's the first scene that you meet James Dean and you see the connection between James Dean and Dean, and like how Dean's very aggressive to him at times. It's like he's very, like, he wants him to be there. It's because James Dean is like his supporter throughout it all, and this is like the person he wants to be, kind of thing. But at times he just feels a bit agitated around him, but then you can see the clear bond between them, and you just see more about Dean as well, and Dean's quite awkward at times as well, and you then throughout the play see Dean change, so you see the transition of Dean. We then did other scenes, which was, we looked at Beth and Claudia, who was being Amy and Laura. I think within the scene they need to listen to each other more, just to get the right reactions, to get the pace as well. I think they need to make more about the imaginative world. You could tell that they were close together, and when they were sitting down you knew that they were like at a festival, but they need to make clear justification of where Dean is, because Dean is in that scene and it just looked like there was two people. It was, I think, missing out Dean's lines and just carrying it on like normal, that was fine, but just make clear justification that someone else is there, even if it's just like a look and just like a roll to the eye about the person that you're talking to Dean, and it's just showing that he's there. Next was Amy and Kyle, who was by Andy and Ashley. The reactive skills were very good. I feel like Amy is a very high maintenance character, so we need to see that more within the scene. So she's very stern in the way she is. She's quite posh like. But yeah, overall I think it was a nice scene. The reaction skills were very good. So now it just needs seeing more relationships. The next was the SMT scene by Lewis and Frankie, and it was very static. I see this scene is about the school scene, like they're on Dean's side, but really it's just because Ofsted's come in, they want Dean to make a speech, so Ofsted would give him a good report. So it's very fake in what they're saying, so then I feel like they need to show that within the scene, whereas this was very static and you didn't really see a connection between the SMT trying to get Dean on their side. So I think they need to work on that a little bit. Next was Scott and Elliot, who was playing Josh and Kyle. Scott was very good at reactive skills. I just feel like the relationship needs working on. I think all of us need to do that though. That can't just be done like that. We need to go over the script more and have an understanding of the character more to understand that. But yeah, we need to make sure that the relationship's there. Make contacts as well within the scene. Kyle is trying to comfort Josh, and we need to see that within the scene. So with the hug, it was very awkward, like they didn't know where to go. So I just think that they need to be more truthful on stage. My strength for today's lesson would be just working with different characters and having an interpretation of different relationships which my character would have with other people. My weakness I'm still doing quite girly gestures, so I need to think more about being more manly within the scenes, and that would be my areas to improve. But with not knowing what character we're going to be, say if I was going to be Dean, then I would work more on that.